Welcome to the Simplify, Lead and Grow podcast, where business leaders share real strategies for growth. Hosted by Steve Kopecki, each episode offers insights to help you simplify, lead with purpose, and achieve success. Get ready for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. The journey to simplify, lead, and grow starts now.
Hello and welcome. I'm Steve Kopecki, the president and owner of Compass Performance Inc., an executive and business coaching company. I'm also the host of the Simplify and Grow podcast. At Compass, we work with organizations, teams, and entrepreneurs as they intentionally build a work culture focused on 80-20 and simplification. And they do this to accelerate their growth, building a bridge to profitability, and certainly a culture of continuous learning. Today, my guest on the Simplify and Grow podcast is Bryan Jorgensen, partner at Tanduo, where their mission is to grow self-driven leaders who make a difference in their communities. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your business and what inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think like even kind of going back, we were talking a little bit about my past experience working more in the logistics industry and leadership there. My business partner, Josh, and I spent a lot of time working on a lot of the other run the business aspects of IT as a part of our side jobs, we'll say, along with all of our other responsibilities, and learned a lot about growing people, growing leaders, scaling organizations, building processes around that from a business perspective. And we really enjoyed doing a lot of that work. We both had desires to be entrepreneurs from his dad is in trucking and did that and had kind of a not quite his own business, own entrepreneurship, but very similar. Yeah. My dad's an entrepreneur, so I think both of us have family ties to entrepreneurship and had interest there from that perspective. But really, we kind of started making progress at our current or at those jobs and kind of wanted to see how fast we could grow talent. If we had our own culture that we were setting that was all focused on providing experiences to accelerate technical leadership and technical talent. So really that's kind of what we set off to do. We had a lot of analogies when we first started where, a lot of big enterprises are going and hiring up the people with 4 or 5 years of experience, ready to go, ready to lead projects, especially in the technical space, especially in our area, Northeast Wisconsin, even Wisconsin probably in general. So really our kind of goal was how do we replenish that forest? And then that kind of has evolved into, we started off like, hey, maybe we have people go to all these other companies, lead at these other companies, to, hey, maybe we can be a company that's focused on partnering and leadership and really like leveraging our strong core strength of leadership when everyone is one together. We might even be able to multiply that a little bit more than, shipping everybody out and having them dispersed all over the place. So yeah, it's kind of where it led to why we wanted to go on the entrepreneurship journey, and really all focused on how do we grow leaders in our communities, and then take that broader past this as we can, as we scale.
Okay, so give me an idea of one of your ideal clients or customers or prospects and what it is that you provide for them.
Yeah. So a lot of times we come into, so we have a manufacturing client that we're actually working with right now, where we came in to help them put together kind of a strategy for a product that they're working on to sell, and they have like kind of a bigger effort to convert some technology over to some newer technology. But they needed a lot of help with the strategy side of things. So we've got a lot of that going. We got it to a spot where the project's humming along, strategy is set. They are starting to utilize some other teams and developers as well, and we're starting to lead those teams and be that leadership group for them, providing them the transparency, really acting as a partner to their internal associates. In some of our other client, or another example where we're coming in more fresh, we're looking at doing some agile leadership training, which may, that's the kind of starting spot. And then as we identify some of the work and the gaps that they have through that journey, Ideally finding ways to partner with them further, and really have our teams come in and help be an example of a well-formed agile team and help steer them and partner with them on their teams and help them mimic those behaviors and set up the same processes that we've built internally, to help them scale their organization and the work that they're doing.
That's great. So by agile, you mean like the product development process?
Correct. Yep.
Oh, that's incredible. There's got to be all sorts of teaming things that pop up and leadership things that pop up in addition to running a project.
Yes. Tools, culture, mindset, methodologies, all of that combined into one with that one.
Even how to deal with conflict on the team and build trust and things like that.
Yes.
Some of the soft skills, right?
Yep.
Very interesting. What sort of common misconceptions about running a business that have you learned about, and how have you addressed them?
Yeah. This one's a tough question. Even I was thinking, the one that I came to mind initially was just people. I think it takes someone special to do it. I think, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs already on this journey in the last 4 years. It's gonna sound mean, but not always. It doesn't take someone special to do it. It does to do it right. And I think there's just a lot of people that can run businesses and run them successfully. So I think there's that to think about, and find out which one you want to be, as you get started. And then, outside of misconceptions, I had more feelings and learnings. I think that it was worth probably sharing around it, and maybe not misconceptions, but just more things that I noticed. And you have some great thoughts coming up, I think, on getting deeper into this. But you need to maintain your work-life integration. It's a coined term stole from a book that I read, instead of work-life balance. You can get way more emotionally involved than maybe your corporate gig that you have now. And you need to treat your business like it's kind of a living entity away from yourself. It's kind of your baby. And you can't really, it's not you, right? It's separate. You have to treat it like you're separate from it. You may not be at it forever, but other people might be. So that's kind of my, I don't know, they're misconceptions, but my kind of thoughts around those lines.
Sure. Some of your learnings, it sounds like, as well. How would you maintain, or how do you maintain work-life integration? Is that what you called it?
Yeah. Actually, we're doing some really great leadership masterminds, and have really gotten a challenge myself and my business partner on this. But something that's more practical on a day-to-day basis around that is really trying to start your day off with the right mentality, coming into work. So taking 15 minutes at the beginning of the day to be ready, focused, in the right mindset. For me, I've got to be patient. I got to be a listener. I like to talk. I like to chime in. I like to solve problems, but sometimes I'm not there to solve problems. I'm there to listen, as a leader. So reminding myself of that, getting in that mindset, being ready for people's one-on-ones and being present for them. And then I think, this is a little bit of mixture, even being remote. We're fully remote with the exception of some client meetings and events and stuff that we attend. But after work, when you can just turn around your desk and just, okay, now you're in life. You really have to have a lot more of that separation emotionally too. So for me, it's, taking 10 minutes to go for a walk, or 10 minutes if it's raining like today, sitting at my desk and not going upstairs and joining the rest of the family until I'm ready. I've set things aside from work and ready to go be there. So I think for me, that's a large part of it, just because when you're running a business, there's a lot more work-life integration. The lines are a lot more blurred, so you have to be a lot more purposeful with managing your emotions at the right time.
You're ready to write the book, I think. Sounds like you have worked a number of things that are on separating work from life, personal life. Make sure that you have a clear mind for both, and being authentic. I heard a lot about how important it is with your workforce, or customer, your family, just being there, being available to them when you're with them. And
Right.
and remembering that, because life goes by pretty darn quick. Um, as you know, this world of AI has come upon us and everything's changing constantly. And how do you stay adaptable and open to change? Because, with agile, it's process, and it's, as you know, much better than I. Um, all these processes can actually prevent us from change. How do you maintain agility and the ability to change?
Yeah, I think even on the mindset of change, I think like there's always a change for the better, not change for change's sake. But there's definitely a openness to new opportunities and learnings. I think, even 4 years as an entrepreneur, like you're going to meet with people. People are going to approach you that you should take the call and learn, much like, getting to meet you. And I think there's many of those opportunities that come along your way that you shouldn't pass up. You never know where they're going to head. You don't know what kind of conversations you're going to have. So kind of segues into like meeting with leaders across different industries, across different disciplines, understanding what their problems and pain points are. Really kind of keeps you keeping that breath and keeping that understanding of the world around you. I think doing a lot of reading, audiobooks, podcasts, keeping up to speed on all of those types of things. And I think too, like from as much as like, being an entrepreneur, I was never sales traditionally, and marketing and those types of things. But I think doing sales and going out and meeting, it's kind of forces you to go meet those people, and understand what's all going on out there, and attending events and knowing all the hot topics like AI, and being ready to talk to those things, because I think every sales conversation is going to bring that up. Really just understanding who you're speaking to and what's changing in their worlds, and all of that is kind of what readies you, or at least for me, readies me to be ready for change and keep thinking openly.
Bryan, you mentioned masterminds. What is that? How have you used masterminds in the past, or currently?
Yeah, we've been doing some of we've been doing some internally, and we've been doing some externally. So for that's a good call. I didn't have that one on my list.
Yeah,
Josh and I have been looking
that's
for.
called a curveball. I know you're.
Yeah, that's a good one. Josh and I, at our organization, when you're at the top, right? How do you keep pushing yourselves? We're each other's coaches, which I would say a partnership is very beneficial, and I'm appreciative of that, because we both can push each other.
Yep.
But what else? So we've sought out different leadership masterminds that have focused on, we've done different business advisement things as well, but this particular one, this more of a mastermind format, is a group of business leaders focused on coaching and leadership, and tact and leadership, and all sorts of topics like that. And then it's become a network of leaders that you've been able to call upon, and kind of network with, and keep evolving together.
So you meet regularly? Is that it,
Sure.
or how do you get together, or what?
Yeah, so that mastermind started off as, I think it was like a 6-month recurring, once every 2 weeks, I think it was. And then once we finished that 6-month period, it's now once a month, where we kind of just regroup and talk about some of the similar concepts. And we were one of the earlier groups for them, so they kind of use us as guinea pigs to test new concepts in their leadership pipeline. And we get to kind of meet some of the new people that have graduated through the process as they join that kind of alumni group.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it's evolved now. But internally, we do masterminds as well. We've been using them for like training up new project leads, client-facing project leads, our own leadership pipeline masterminds, those types of things, to try and keep some of those internal roles evolving, and processes evolving, and people thinking outside of just what we're doing day to day.
Great. Sounds like a good environment to challenge each other, and also bring new ideas to the table, and work with them.
Yeah.
And some support as well. Sounds like it.
Yep.
Could you provide a glimpse into the future of your business, and what some goals are as you continue to grow what sounds like a very exciting and successful business?
Yeah. We've always kind of talked about the business not really having an end. So we don't have a like we're trying to get to a certain revenue target or number of people and stay there. I think sky's the limit. We've kind of said we need to be right back to that whole, it's its own being. We can't stifle it. We got to be ready to support what it's going to become. So us staying in front of the business and with processes, with hiring the right people, with the culture, such that it grows to the point it's going to grow. I think vision wise that we've talked, we'd love to see it where it expands out into multiple cities and having, you know, cohorts of people that are serving client bases in different areas. And also those communities, we have a strong presence as far as like community service and initiatives within those areas that we are right now, mainly Wisconsin. But then we have some product ideas as well so kind of going past just Tanduo proper. We have some products around coaching that we want to develop and have started developing to support our internal processes now of growing leaders and growing future people leaders. That, you know, that could eventually kind of turn into a product on its own, and who knows where that goes yet. Still very early stages, but from my perspective, I think, you know, Tanduo, taking it there, having it handed off to other leaders within, and helping more from a guidance perspective as we start other ventures or other synergistic ventures, I would say.
Sure. How important it is as you look at, you know, what you just described, the growth being multi-geography and also new products or services, and how important it is to make sure that entrepreneurs leverage data where they can and what they're really good at, especially early on, to go after what they're really good at, but also where the great opportunities are for revenue and profitability. Sometimes we kind of take a lot on, and that can be kind of scary on the complexity side later on.
Yep.
So
there's balance between I guess they always talk about this too, the innovator's dilemma, even at like larger organizations. I think it still exists at entrepreneurship world too, but yeah, just not getting ahead of yourself, or like not focusing on that thing that you started here. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs kind of bounce around between ideas, and then none of them really take flight, or not as far as they maybe could have gone. So yeah, it's kind of nice to try and get them into a good spot first.
How many entrepreneurial classes tell you never say no?
Yeah.
Oops. Well, then you can get yourself into a lot of trouble too, saying yes all the time, right?
Yep.
But great. Well, what advice would you have to aspiring entrepreneurs that are starting out, you know, as they start this journey and they're facing challenges in their businesses?
Yeah. I think, you know, the thing that I probably learned is that every entrepreneurship journey is a little bit different based on the business and your opportunities that you have, whether it's like a product or a service business. So even just like focus a little bit more on the service business where we're at. And this probably could still be taken into other concepts too. I just haven't tested them myself to know for sure. But in the service industry, I think, you know, finding a place to start, as much as like eventually you get to a spot where you're elephant hunting, and elephant hunting meaning finding that big client. Start somewhere, start with a bunch of small clients, start with the rabbits, right? And test things out, test out your theories, really find out who you are. Because eventually you get further along and get past referrals and those just easy win sales opportunities where you have to be really yourself and really authentic and ready to be ready to like talk about who you are. And in order to find those elephants that are a good match. But you don't know that right away. I think as much as you think you do, you got to just test a lot of that. You'll evolve. Where we first set out as a business thinking that we were going to kind of grow talent and have them go out into the world. I think we've evolved more to like, hey, can we together be more effective? And that wasn't where we started as an example. And even as from a sales perspective, like we thought we were just going to be a development team. And while we're not that either, we found that, you know, in order to utilize our technical leadership talent, we got to go be leaders and find those niche places to do that. Kind of a different vein. I think, you know, another piece of advice would be I think like when you first start off that entrepreneurship journey, some people are thinking, well, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I want to work for myself. I think that doesn't mean you don't have a boss. You have clients, you have your people that work for your company, you have people that you answer to. Sure, you can, the difference in the entrepreneurship world is you can fire all of those, right? You can fire a client, you can fire a person, you still have that control. But it's never easy and it's never without impact. And so it's just never that easy of a decision. So if you people who think that that's what you're going to get, you're not. You're fooling yourself, and you still have all those same responsibilities, and maybe more accountability to fixing those things when they come up.
For sure, the buck stops there, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I think, kind of going back a little bit to the previous point, you don't want to be like wishy-washy on who you want to work for when you get further along. And you don't want to be wishy-washy on the people that you're recruiting to come work for your organization. That's going to impact your culture over time. You want to start figuring those things out. So starting to hire some people, starting to find some clients, figuring that out sooner than later is important, because eventually, as you grow and you want to scale, those things have to be decided. And sometimes cleaning up the client bases, cleaning up people that are working there might have to happen. So I think you want to learn from all your experiences early on.
Excellent. There's a lot what you just said that can be very helpful for an entrepreneur. Everything from got to make revenue happen right now, short term. Don't worry if it's necessarily all the right revenue, but get some revenue going. You can always scale it to really understanding what it is. Why are you really doing this? Why are you in this business? And what it is that you're doing, not just the why, but the what it is, and ultimately the how you're going to do it. All has to be clear to really scale the business and move it forward. But that's all part of the learning process, is what I hear you saying as well. So just entrepreneurs out there, go for it. Try something. Don't make it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Try it and get it going, and then work with it.
Even people I know in the product space, even though we're a service industry, I don't know how many of them start with a product vision and end up with the same thing when they're finally making money with it. So even that, like, they're starting somewhere, and they got to let I think the other probably piece in that is you got to let your market tell you what's out there and what's going to be successful. I think some other stuff I've seen is when people are fighting too hard to cling on to that idea that they started with, is going to be potentially the anchor that stops them from growing as well. So I think you got to follow the environment a bit too.
That's awesome too. Yeah, for sure. Well, excellent, Bryan. I appreciate your time today and sharing your experiences, your history, and what got you to where you are today, and some pointed, valuable lessons that you've learned for future entrepreneurs that are out there just starting out. As we conclude this episode of the Simplify and Grow podcast, it's clear that your organization, Tanduo, grows self-driven IT leaders that make a difference. And they simplify, they improve, and they apply technical solutions to real business problems. It's clear that your organization works with clients and prioritize high-impact activities, ensuring leaders are both efficient and effective with their decisions. You're fostering an approach that really integrates leadership development with community impact, which when I first read through this, I was really interested to hear how does that work, and I can see it. You foster leaders that drive meaningful change as well. Thank you, Bryan, and thank you, guests, for joining Bryan and I on the Simplify and Grow podcast. And until next time, keep simplifying and growing.
Thank you for listening to the Simplify, Lead, and Grow podcast. We hope this episode provided you with valuable insights and actionable strategies to apply in your leadership journey. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review to help us reach more listeners. Be sure to share this podcast with fellow leaders ready to simplify their approach, lead with purpose, and grow their business. Until next time, continue to lead with passion and grow with purpose.